Welcome back, and thank you for tuning in to Naijha Speaks. My name is Naijha Wright Brown, co-owner of the Land and Kush Vegan Soul Bistro in Baltimore, and executive director of the Black Vegetarian Society in Maryland, and contributor for Jane Unchained News. Today's guest is a content creator, hip hop artist, proud parent, public speaker, wellness advocate, and student of the universe. Woo. He makes music pertaining to social and cultural issues with a raw scope on reality, providing a unique lyrical commentary that serves as an inspiration and a form of direction for Black people. We'll hear his story about being a lyrical artist, living a plant based lifestyle, and his struggle with diabetes. Please join in on the conversation. But before we introduce this next guest, let's take a look at this clip.
I want y'all to open y'all ears. Can y'all hear me out there? Look. Let's talk about our food, what we put in our temple, what it does to our body, how it affects our mental. Chronically dehydrated, body feel annihilated, can't get our spirit together, messing with our vibrations, living in the nation. Food and water is wasted, sick country full of patients, dying throughout the ages. These hormones exploiting growth, all poor corporate growth, don't care for the people with what you eating, the torture slow. Lies on the flat screen, telling you need vaccines. Come up with reports, just a stork with the facts. Call this democracy. This is a piracy of your health. They want wealth, no irony over anomalies. It's a shame in the cold truth the souls do. By having a sickness, they sold you the whole scoop. It's strategically hidden from what you learned as a child about nutrition. Telling you you need meat, cow's milk, need cheese. Industries grown from these deeds. Corporate greed while you in the kitchen with the bacon and grits, pancakes and eggs. We was making it rich. Please understand, everybody gotta eat. I just come to question the breakfast that y'all call complete. It's time to do the research so we can have a rebirth. But that's impossible if we're not checking what we eat first. Or do we die? Or do we care of what we put aside? Do we live? Or do we die? Or do we care of what we put aside? Do we live? Or do we die? Or do we care of what we put aside? Do we live? Or do we die? Or do we care of what we put aside? The food business monopolized, whistleblowers ostracized, poisons codified, genetically modified. Tell me the truth, eye to eye, don't make up another lie. But that won't matter, cause that won't make your profits rise. This not disputable, your solution's not suitable. Instead of prescribing healthy diets, giving them pharmaceuticals. Who could you maneuver through a force that's removing you? Once it's said and done, just business as usual. We need water filters for the chemical spillers. Protect the skin and bone, these toxins are builders. I hope this all getting in. Stop the bickering, not so different from Flint, Michigan. What is our position then? Strong life envisioning, grow from old habits and start now listening. Children need this guidance because they've been affected by this solid environmental virus, killing with a bias. You are accountable to keep this earth bountiful. It may seem insurmountable, your actions are countable. We need everybody just to make change because we need one another to maintain. Now do we live or do we die? Or do we care of what we put aside? Now do we live or do we die? Do we care of what we put aside? Now do we live or do we die? Do we care of what we put aside? Do we live or do we die? Or do we care of what we put aside? I am poetdeep.com. You can go to my website.
All right. And without further ado, we have Poet Deep. What's going on, Poet?
Hey, I'm doing wonderful.
On?
Thank you for having me today. I'm really grateful.
So the topic today is how do music and food influence our life? Very, very important topic here. But before we get into that, tell me a little bit about yourself. Where you from, your journey, all that stuff.
So I guess try to keep things condensed. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland, born and raised. As people already know, I do music. As you saw the video from Vegan Soul Fest, But I'm just your average, everyday black person. Trying
Are you
to
vegan?
thrive.
Are you
Say that
vegan,
again.
plant-based? Are you vegan, plant-based? You're everyday black person, but are you vegan? Are you plant-based and flexitarian? Do you like
Yes,
labels?
I would. To be honest, when I look at terminologies and I look at certain aspects of the vegan movement, I would say plant-based, because like some people, I've come to learn, like, I don't eat anything that comes from an animal, but there have been times I've consumed honey, and some people felt as though if you consume honey, that takes away from you being a vegan. Or the clothes that you wear. Do you wear clothes that are made with animals and stuff like that? And so I know that's some people's sticking lines as far as in the vegan movement, but by most people's understanding, nowadays, yes, I am. I am a vegan. I don't eat anything that comes from animals.
Okay, thank you for that. So
Sure.
talk about your food journey. How did it start?
Well, growing up, like most of us, I grew up where unhealthy eating practices were learned. Now I did grow up in a family with my grandmother, my grandparents, my mother there as well. There was a lot of cooked foods, so I was not a child that was raised on carry out McDonald's all the time and stuff like that. But as I got older and when I really strayed into the streets, my diet had really took a big change, especially when I used to drink alcohol, smoke marijuana, primarily, marijuana. I used to eat everything. And I remember at one time, I used to be so in love with food on a gluttonous level. Like I used to tell myself, like, man, if food gonna kill me, then I'm dying because I'm not changing my diet. I said that before, probably when I
We
was
hear that
around.
from a lot of people. A lot of people say that. It's good. Something's gonna kill you anyway. So why?
Yeah, I couldn't see past, what I was eating, and one day, I built a relationship who's a great friend of mine now. His name is Asar, who's a farmer here in Baltimore, and he's many other things than that. But that's what he's most known for. Him and I started doing some community work together about close to 12 years ago. And at the time, he was a raw vegan. So not only was he plant-based, but he did not cook any of his foods. And me being around him and me being around more progressive minded people at the time was a big influence for me to become a vegan myself. So I actually started off, it's funny how I started off. I started off as a raw vegan.
Yes, I
So
remember that.
yeah,
Yeah, I remember you traveling that they're raw, scares people sometimes.
yeah, I did raw for 6 years.
What did you
And
eat as a raw vegan? What were you eating?
Uh, let's see. I remember bogle wheat. I've always had dried fruits. Your regular, your ordinary regular fruits. Your fresh fruits. Lots of smoothies. I used to make a lot. I used to make. I mean, I still eat salads a lot now, but I used to make salads back then, and I used to mix so much stuff like my salads end up being like very, very heavy by the amount of stuff. So, I used to have my variation of greens. And then what I started doing is making an exception where certain foods might not be classified as raw, but they still living. They still have their living enzymes in them. So I would have, and I still eat to this day tempeh.
Well, I
Um,
love tempeh. That's
yeah,
the bacon. You put the smoked liquid amino, and I love tempeh.
yeah. Um, I'm trying to think. It's something else that it's a lot of, like, I used to have a lot of sprouts. It's hard for me to remember specifics because like I say, I just used to do it. But then not only that, um, my children's mother, who done a lot of great work with raw vegan dishes. I mean, she had
Yes,
took it to a new level for me.
yes.
She was making meatballs, or she called them meatballs, meatloaf, burgers, spaghetti, using squash and all of these different things. And so she
shout out to
really,
Sarah. Shout out
yeah,
to Sarah. She was one of the
yeah,
vendors at
Sarah,
Vegan
yes,
Sofa.
most
Sarah,
definitely. Right.
yes.
And so, people who were going to farmers markets, her business name was Foodtastic Family Visions.
Yes.
And, that really had helped me even more, because now I was starting to have textures, consistencies. Like what she started making was tasting better than the stuff that I was experimenting around with. Like she took it to a new level.
Right. Yes. No, her food was awesome. I had this raw burger from her one time, and that thing like made me fully alive. I was like, wow, this is serious. This raw food journey is something else. So yeah, she made some incredible menu items. The food that you were making was raw. Were there any particular reasons why you were eating certain foods, like nutritional values and things like that? Because when you get from vegan and plant-based, you could be vegan but not be the healthiest vegan. You know what I'm saying? Because you can be consuming burgers and French fries and things like that all day, every day, and then next thing you know, okay, wow, you have this level of health ailments. So what was the reason why you were eating those specific raw items?
Well, back then I was not as scientific with it as I am now, in terms of, now don't get me wrong. Like sometimes, I would have nutritional yeast and say, I know this is fortified with B vitamins and things like that. So I'm eating this for B vitamins. I know that these greens have iron and stuff like that. I was just eating in a way that I saw was a part of my natural development and evolution, more of a disciplined way of life, because I've always been I've always had a certain level of discipline about myself, even when I was in the streets and I was all over the place. But I wanted to get to a deeper level with myself. So it was not really based on understanding the nutrient profile, of what I was eating. It was more so about the discipline and how I felt about that, that journey.
Okay. And you had a struggle with diabetes, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
the type 1, type 2. Tell us about that.
Yes. And so it's a lot. It's a whole lot of stuff that comes along with diabetes. And so I'm gonna try to be clear in a short period of time. I was classified as a 1.5 diabetic, type 1.5, meaning I'm borderline between type 1 because my body does not produce enough insulin on its own, but type 2 is still kind of type 2-ish in the medical classification, because for one, I got it later on in life. So what they call it is LADA, LADA, which I believe is latent autoimmune deficiency. It's something like that, but it's called LADA, right? And so pretty much I started experiencing this struggle or problems with my blood sugar. I didn't know it at the time. In 2016, I was working out Sparrows Point, and for people who don't know, that was a major industrial area, and I was a part of the demolition crew. I used to have a blowtorch cutting down a lot of steel all day, breathing in a lot of toxic stuff, right? And so when I was working out there, that's when I started to not feel so well. And so eventually, long story short, I went to the hospital. They checked my sugar. Your normal sugar level is supposed to be around, and this is debated too in the diabetes arena as well, but most numbers that the doctors will give you is between 80 and like 110, 125. My sugar was 696.
Wow.
Yeah. So my sugar was 696. And so I was diagnosed shortly after that, not only with diabetes, but as a type 2 diabetic. And so it didn't kind of make sense to me because, it's like, well, my diet is good. I'm pretty, I'm pretty active. Like, what's going on here? So all I did was I focused more as I could, because I was having a lot of physical complications from my blood sugar being that high. But when I could, I would work out more. And then I stopped eating sugar. I stopped eating a lot of carbohydrates. I started having more bitter melon drinks and things like that. Right. And and you know, my children's mother, Satra, was helping me out in that process with preparing my meals and stuff like that, and helping to take care of me, right? So in this process, you know, I kept noticing that my sugar would still not go down. It would not go down. I went on a 30-minute, I went on a 30-day juice fast, right? And I noticed that my sugar would go down to normal levels on that juice fast. But once I started back eating, even though I was not eating carbohydrate foods, like rich carbohydrate foods, let me be clear, because if you know, it's carbs in almost everything that we eat. It just might not be a lot.
Right.
But anyway, that didn't work. So eventually I submitted and I started taking metformin and glipizide from the medical establishment, you know, because I don't agree with those medications, you know, with my own inner constitution, but I couldn't solve the issue on my own. And not only that, with changing my foods, I was stepping it up on certain supplementation. I was getting a lot of assistance. I also had a holistic practitioner, a naturopath helping me as well. And when none of that stuff worked, the metformin, none of that stuff worked, I heard of this podcast called Mastering Diabetes. And when I listened to the podcast, one of the guys was saying, before you do anything, when you find out if you're a diabetic, you need to get a C-peptide test.
Wow.
To find out, are you a type 1 or a type 2 diabetic? So
Right.
I went back to my doctors and I said, I would like to get a C-peptide test. And they agreed that, you know, let's try this out. And come to find out, what the C-peptide does is it checks to see how much insulin your pancreas is producing. And come to find out, my pancreas was producing very, very, very low insulin. And so the only way that I could manage my blood sugar is by external endogenous insulin, is by shooting it within myself. And that's when I was able to start having some headway with controlling my blood sugar.
Wow. And is this what you're still doing this now?
Yes, more than likely, I'll probably be doing this for the rest of my life.
So we don't even know if this was, you know, this could have been environmentally driven based on the work you were doing.
Right. But, and add on to that, other damage that I did to my body years ago that made me susceptible. And it could be certain genetic factors that made me more susceptible, because this is one thing, is genetics does play a role. However, it's not what everybody think it is. Some people think that, oh, I'm just going to get diabetes because my mother and my father had it. No, we might have certain things within our genes that make us susceptible to something, but what pulls the trigger is how we eat and how we live. And
Right.
so, yes, one thing that's not factored a lot in with diabetes is the environmental pollution factor. And that did play a role, I believe, with other factors of damage that I probably had already done to my body that created a weakened immune, system for that to be able to happen.
Right. And you're touching on some good points, because the environment, and we know in minority areas, there's always this environmental pollution and toxins that are dumped, which causes things that could be people dealing with diabetes or whatever it is, cancer, whatever is going on, which is unfortunate, and we have to continue to fight against that so they can stop doing this in our communities. Great. Let's talk about the music. Let's transition here. We're talking about how the music and the food influences our life. So we understand you had to go and drink the juices in order to get a positive effect on the diabetes. What type of juices, answer the question, what type of juices did you have to drink before we transition into how your music journey started? What type of juices were you drinking?
Well, mainly I was doing some milk. All of them most were mainly powders. When I went on my 30-day fast, they were mainly powders, right? So I would have like raw meal powders, meal replacements. But besides the meal replacements, I had kale powder. I had moringa.
Yeah, I heard that's really good. Kale.
Turmeric. I had spinach powder. I had a oh my gosh, I had a vast amount of powders that I was just drinking all day, along with having herbs, whereas ashwagandha,
Oh
turmeric once
wow.
again,
Wow.
garlic. So I would
Mhm.
also have drinks with tinctures
Okay.
inside of those drinks.
And for anybody who doesn't know tinctures, can you explain that? And yes, Betty Ann, 30%, she's putting up some stats. 30% is genetics when it comes to diabetes, and 70% is you. Okay. Thank you for that
Understood.
comment.
Understood.
Talk to us about what's a tincture.
Okay, so a liquid extract of a herb. So hold on for 1 second. Right here. So
Okay, yeah. Just so people know, because
yeah, so it's
I have that
basically,
stuff too.
yeah, liquid herb inside of here. You just take it, open it, put it on your tongue or under your tongue, and you keep it moving.
Awesome, awesome. Patty says she puts all that in her smoothie in the morning and in her dad's, and celery and cinnamon. Great
Oh
smoothies.
yeah.
Smoothies are awesome. I mean, you can do a lot with the smoothies. I think they're the best. Music. Talk to us about how did you get into that? You know, what reasons did you get into music?
Well, I've been into music, like most people, all my life. When I was young, I really had saw myself being a singer. I used to really try to, I really used to try to sing when I was younger. But as I got older and more oriented with the streets, well, no, before that, but I became more rapping, and I started to actually perform more so like in 2009. So actually, my first performance, I will never forget it because it's on the same day that Michael Jackson died. That's the
Oh
first day I
wow.
ever performed.
Okay.
So I'll never forget, my first entrance into performing live in front of people. So that's when I started, to perform. So I don't know where you want to go at, from that
So
point.
we're talking about how food and music influences people. How do you feel your music has influenced? So like, who is your target audience? Who were
You,
you trying to target this music to?
you know, on a marketing side, I'm still gauging that
Okay.
more accurately, but
Uh-huh.
progressive.
What messages are you sending in the music? Because you have a new sound out right now, right? What are we looking at here? What was the inspiration behind this Trials of the Living?
Yeah, so it was to capture the daily struggles that
Okay.
we all experience. However, it is also
And you say we
it,
all, we
it,
talking about all of us, or particularly
uh,
black people?
I mean, I'm speaking specifically to black people, but I
Okay.
acknowledge that everybody has a struggle dealing in the human condition, period. But to be specific, and I'm glad you brought that up, yes, I am talking about black people.
Okay.
So,
Talk. Uh huh.
with this project is about a victorious spin on these struggles, is being able to put empowerment inside of what we're actually going through, what we are experiencing, on a general level. And if you see the person in the water, their head is above water.
Right.
So
Some of us aren't even that high. Some of us is just a little tip of the head.
yeah, yeah, most definitely, and so basically that's more so with that particular project. Most of my projects always fall around that same theme of capturing our struggles, but me uh, attempting to really give empowerment through my lyrical commentary, or the different things that I might bring to a song to bring about that spirit and energy.
Is there any particular experience you'd like to share with us about how the music and food have influenced you in whatever way? Because we all go through periods in life. You know, you got your first 10 years from 1 to 10 when you're, I guess, finding yourself, and then from 10 to 20, you're in another stage, then 20 to 30. And I can tell you my experience with music, and I like a range of music. I'm half Latino, so I can like R&B and all type of genres of
Right.
music. I enjoy music, and it puts me in a mood depending on what I want to hear. If I want to study, the music is going to be lighter. If I want to feel free, the music might be like you have there, the explicit lyrics and stuff like that. Just expressing myself. Maybe I'm angry about something, and I have to find a song that boosts my moves or expresses how I feel. What's an experience that you had where the music has influenced you?
Well, I would say in the past because I actually have always had a weird relationship with music. I don't really listen to music a lot, period. Um, and part of the reason is that is sometimes I can't hear myself think, and so I like I like I like silence a lot, in my life. But a pivotal point is my favorite artist of all time. His name is K Reno. He's from Houston, Texas. And he has about 50 CDs. He's done like 50 projects in his lifetime. And he just turned 50 years old not too long ago. And I had a pleasure to meet him in person. But he is one of the reasons why I went back into music because, at one time I was not going to go back into music as far as trying to record, produce material and stuff like that. It would just be something that I do. If somebody asked me, I would do it, but I was not going to really pursue it, like trying to put my message out. And the way how he tells his story and the way how he just explains life and his thought process and empowerment and encouragement that he's given through his music, it was like, man, I need to be holding my post. This is a gift that I have. Not saying I got to be trying to drop something all the time, but I need to be engaging this. And so, that has always stuck with me. And even today, it's still sticking with me that, I have to keep pushing through as an artist to do my job.
Well, I remember when we first launched the Keep It Fresh Day when we partnered with Chef Etef in Colorado, Denver. If no one knows Chef Etef, you need to check him out. He went from being a gangster to being an organic gardener. He launched Keep It Fresh Day on June 14th. And Baltimore was one of the cities that partnered with him on the East Coast to promote this campaign. And the campaign basically states to post pictures of your plant-based dishes or music videos. And we didn't get any music videos. And I think I reached out to you and I said, this was a good opportunity to kind of be creative with the music and deliver something that was in line with the plant-based music and the animal rights and everything. And you had a chance to win a signature Chef Etef, DJ Kavum, Champion Juicer, because Champion Juicer was the sponsor. And you came up with an incredible video, and I think it was Do We Live, the Do We Live that we just listened to.
Exactly.
And it showed, the impact of consuming animals and environmentalism and everything. And you actually won and you got that Champion Juicer. So I think that was an incredible piece of work, and it was definitely moving, and it was needed. We need more music like that coming from within our community and promoting that eco hip hop sound or eco music in general to push the message in our community. So music can move you. It just depends on the artist and who's delivering it and how it's being delivered, because we can see the impact of music now, or what's out and what's going on. So it's very important that artists are they realize how their music influences people in their words and the messages. The same as food. If you're eating sad, like standard American diet, then you may live this sad life of a lot of health ailments and obesity, diabetes, stroke and things like that. So it's very, very important. How are you navigating your business and your ambitions right now during the pandemic? And again, why you didn't answer the question about your target audience. You're still trying to figure it out. But I know you do some speaking also. You're a speaker. How are you navigating your business and ambitions during the pandemic right now?
Well, right now, besides what I do full time, and I work for rideshare company,
Okay.
and so besides that, my main thing right now is catering to my health on a deeper level because not too long ago I found out that I had diabetic cataracts, and so I'm really dealing with that very like that's priority right now. But what I am doing, I have been doing some planning as far as looking at how should I'm still piecing that together to answer your question in terms of how to move because there's a lot of opportunity in any situation in life, and so I'm just gathering my information right now, seeing how I can start becoming more accessible, doing videos and, connecting and linking with people such as yourself to be able to get more work done, but also keep the ideas flowing in, because I think that's always, it's a must. You got to be able to capture fresh ideas, whether they're from yourself or from other people.
Right, right, right. So we can best connect with you on I've been putting it up, Poet Deep, on your website at I am Poet Deep, for speaking. What do you speak about and who will be your target audience for the speaking, or who is your target audience? I think you had mentioned one time you were trying to speak with the youth.
Right, yeah, like now, yes, youth is part of it, but also I can do circles with mainly men. I like to talk
Okay,
about.
that's
I really
important.
like to talk. I really like to talk with men about Black manhood, African manhood. That is something very, very serious to me. But not only that, but as stated, as a wellness advocate, there's a lot of trials that I've experienced, and that from what not only what I've been through, but I've learned from others, I think I have valuable things to that can help other people, who might be in need. So talks around wellness, definitely around dieting, but also spiritual development, and I guess that ties again into the wellness advocate aspect.
Absolutely. I'm very
So
spiritual. I mean, I'm an omnis, and if no one knows what omnis is, I can find truth in anybody's religion. I feel honestly
right,
religions start wars because it's divisive. So I mean, there's truth in everything, whatever you're
right,
believing in, and I respect everyone's belief. Because everyone can't be lying and there can't just be one truth. I mean, it's who you're
right,
following and who your most high or your spiritual guide is and all of that stuff. So yeah, spirituality is very, very important.
right,
And it definitely needs to be respected. And so as you eat your body in your body, when you're eating this healthier food, raw food, plant-based food, not harming animals, things like that, I think it elevates you to a whole nother level spiritually, and you're more connected with the environment and nature and all of that other stuff, all that good stuff. Um, what else did you want to share with us that is important? I know you have the the music coming out, and we've just shared your website. What is in this music? What messages are you sending in the trials of the living? Are there any specific tracks that people should be focusing on?
actually, I have a track on there called Trials of the Living. So
Okay. Okay.
I think that's very powerful along with the other stuff, but specifically that track because it's really about overcoming that hump, overcoming that tough hill, because sometimes in life we meet these unexpected hills and we have to keep ourselves together, we have to endure.
Right.
So that song is of significance. But also when you ask what else that I would like to share beyond that is for people to always remember the holistic nature or the interdependent relationship of wellness. And because some people, not speaking you personally, but some people compartmentalize, exercise, eating, spiritual development, right? And I believe that for a wholesome human slash spiritual experience is the synergy between catering to your spirit, watching what watching and being mindful about what you eat, but also that physical exercise component. Because one of those things lacking, or two of those things lacking, because some people just think that they eat all right, they're fine, they don't have to really exercise.
Right.
Or people feel, oh, I don't, manage, they don't dig deep into stress management, knowledge of self, healing,
Right.
healing from our pains, releasing, the
Right.
things that we deal with and stuff like that. And so I just always want to emphasize those type of things, is that, that spiritual development, along with the eating, and that exercise, will greatly enhance our ability to have more of a wholesome experience.
Right. So listening to that good, positive, uplifting music that's going to instill some positive messages to your brain, and that food that's going to make you healthier, think clearer. And you're only going to be able to do that if you're not consuming animals. You don't want to consume harm animals. You don't want to harm the environment. Look at what's going on with the COVID pandemic. This is all done because we're eating meats and animal agriculture and wet markets and things like that. So this is very, very important. I want to take this moment to make sure folks are liking and subscribing and commenting on NaijaSpeaks.com. Shout out to our sponsors, A Well-Fed World, Veg Fund, Women Funders in Animal Rights, Eat the Change collectively, and individual supporters such as our viewers. We appreciate your support, and thank you for Jane Unchained for allowing us to broadcast on her platform. Anything else that you want to add before we go? Anything that we left out? Anything that you want to say that would be significant to this discussion?
No, I appreciate this. It's been a while since I've been interviewed, and I think you did a very great job, very warm, conversation. And I know you personally outside of this, so that makes it even better as well, because you've always signified as someone as a helping hand in my life, and I always appreciate you for that. And I appreciate this platform for you to be able to broadcast these progressive types of ideas. So I have nothing else to say.
So I appreciate you being on Poet Deep. So everyone, thanks again. Share, like, just remember, music and food do influence your life. So is it going to
Indeed.
be influencing you negatively or positively? I say follow a compassionate lifestyle, try love, eat well, don't do any harm, and listen to some good, healthy music. You know what I'm saying? The good, healthy, positive, uplifting music, and work on your spirituality. And with that said, everyone be safe and be well until I see you
Oh,
again.
I
Go ahead.
did have just last 10 seconds. Yes, you can go to IamPoetDeep.com. Trials of the Living. The pre-orders will be available on October the 31st, and they will be released on November the 8th. So you can go to IamPoetDeep.com. You can sign up your email, and I'll be right in touch with you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Poet Deep. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And please enjoy your day. Stay blessed.